Today on Crunch Week, we're talking about the implosion of Mt.Gox, the $100 million seamless GrubHub IPO, and Facebook killing the Facebook.com email addresses. Hey there, I'm Colleen Taylor.
I'm Ryan Lawler.
And I'm Alex.
Okay, let's dive right into it. Big, bad week for Mt.Gox, the big Bitcoin exchange.
The end, really.
The end. It filed for bankruptcy.
Yes.
They lost all this money. Their CEO disappeared. What the heck happened?
I blame Japan in general for this. No, I'm kidding. So, I mean, they lost a lot of Bitcoin, right? They lost all the Bitcoin and they lost all the money, and there's $67 million in debt. They're bankrupt, and that chapter of Bitcoin is done.
Well, Mt.Gox it's still weird now to say was. I mean, it's the #1 Bitcoin exchange. That's the website you'd go to find out the latest Bitcoin price when we were all talking about, oh, Bitcoin's now $1,000, Bitcoin's now $1,200. It's
Right.
like Mt.Gox was the exchange that was setting that. People had hundreds of millions of dollars in this thing.
Yep, and they don't anymore, turns out. Goodbye.
So what actually happened, with the loss of Bitcoin?
Well, I think they actually evaporate over time if you leave them out in the kitchen long enough. No, there's a problem in the protocol, and a possible exploit called malleability, transaction malleability, that allows you to basically make the same request twice and therefore kind of steal Bitcoin from people. But other Bitcoin folks say that that's not really something that's exploitable if you have good code. So Mt.Gox essentially was either incompetent and therefore lost the Bitcoin by not being vigilant or having enough security standards, or 2, they stole all the Bitcoin and are somewhere giggling on the Caymans. I really hope it's option 2, because we might be able to get them back, because find them. But I mean, I think that if you had Bitcoin on there, it's just gone.
It seems like at some point they must have realized they were just irresponsible for not letting people know. I mean, at some point, maybe once the first 100 million of Bitcoin was gone because someone had hacked into it, you'd think that they would be transparent and tell people.
Well, would you all of a sudden find that moral fiber to be like, hey, everybody sit down. So bad news, you guys just lost $100 million.
Well, it's better to start with 100 million than to let it get to 400 or 450 million.
I mean, maybe they were in that sunk cost fallacy and thought they could fix it.
Yeah.
What I think is really funny about the whole thing is that Mt.Gox was the Magic the Gathering online exchange. And somewhere along the line, people decided that these were the people that they wanted to trust their Bitcoin with. It's
like if TechCrunch became a car company. It's a beautiful segue. Also, the fact that it's Magic cards makes it all the more beautiful. You couldn't find a more nerdy thing to go to. From Magic cards to Bitcoin. If they made a My Little Pony and a manga stop in the middle, it would have been just beautiful. But
do you guys think Bitcoin is over? Can it recover from this?
It already has, right? I mean, at the time that it was reported that all this Bitcoin disappeared, the price went down to I think $450 or whatever, and then the next day it was back into 500, 600 territory. So I feel like the fact that it bounced back so quickly shows that Bitcoin's a lot more resilient than people are giving it credit for.
One thing to keep in mind is that there's a huge concentration of who actually has the current Bitcoin. So I think about 50% of all Bitcoin in existence right now that's been mined out of the 21 million total coins for the future is owned by about 1,000 people. So if they don't sell, that really does lessen market pressure for Bitcoin to lose money. So they have an incentive to not sell and therefore allow for more price stability, which allows the overall Bitcoin platform to mature more quickly. But if you do look at just the 2014 Bitcoin price chart, there's bitcoinaverage.com or whatever, there's been a consistent price decline and price just deceleration for this year period. So I think that Ryan's right that there was a show of resiliency during that period of turmoil. But at the same time, I think that the overall downward pressure on Bitcoin's price has not been alleviated by this. Yeah. So I'm hurt by it. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we've seen even through this week, at the beginning of the week when this first came out, it seemed like everyone was kind of saying, okay, this is it. Bitcoin's dead. A lot of the people who were naysayers of Bitcoin the whole time.
People are dumb. They're going to say dumb things. You can't save them.
Right. And then by the end of the week, it seems like people are still defending Bitcoin, that we feel like the currency is going to go on, but this is obviously a big setback. But let's talk about real money.
Wow.
100 million, not that Bitcoin's not real money.
It isn't.
But real U.S. dollars. GrubHub Seamless just filed to raise up to $100 million in an IPO for all your food delivery needs.
I'm proud to say that I was half of the 2013 revenue. which is pathetic, which is why we're out on this running thing, right? To salvage our waistlines. What do you think of the IPO? Are you excited about it? Does it sound reasonable?
The thing is, the story that I always seem to say with all of these companies, Seamless has been around for so long. You know, they already had one exit, didn't they? Or they sold a big chunk of their company to, is it like Amway or something like this? They've had so many different events along the line, and then they merged with GrubHub, and now this IPO, it just seems almost, you know, it's so late in their development. But their filings seem to show that last year they had a ton of growth, a ton of revenue growth. I mean, they're bigger than ever. This is an idea, though. Seamless has been around since like the early aughts or even the late 90s.
My favorite my favorite metric in all of the filing is gross food sales.
Yeah, it was 1.3 billion, right?
1.3 billion in gross food sales. No, but what's
like nachos, and, like,
day-old nachos, actually.
Right.
Day-old nachos. No, but I think this is also interesting. Like, I'm the TechCrunch writer that's on the lunch beat, which basically means that I write about all of the delivery services. What's interesting to me is that, you know, for a long time, it was just Seamless and GrubHub, and that was it.
Yeah.
And now in San Francisco, you have at least a dozen other, you know, services that you can use for delivery of various things, mostly food, whether it's, you know, Postmates or Caviar or Spoon Rocket or
Spoon
Sprig.
Rocket.
Spoon Rocket.
Spoon Rocket.
Yeah.
What a name.
It's
Burrito Cannon. Nacho Slingshot. What is this?
you joke, but this week I've seen a dozen Spoon Rocket orders just in the TechCrunch office. It's insane. But yeah, there's obviously a huge demand for these services. The question I have is, can this sort of legacy incumbent, you know, old and busted business, you know, continue to compete against the much more you know, the
agile,
much more agile.
That's right.
Startups.
I guess that's what I was getting to, is that this is a company that was founded so long ago, and their model it spawned a bunch of copycats, and it opened up the world to a lot of different things. But are they still going to be equipped to lead it up and be a publicly traded company and be at the forefront of this?
Well, I mean, their 2013 revenue, I believe, was $137 million, of which 26.3 million was from Seamless, and that means that their overall growth rate from 2012 to 2013 was 67%, including the Seamless revenue. If you deduct that, GrubHub itself grew by 34.6%, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
So they're still growing at a pretty decent clip. 35% is nothing to scoff at. The issue is, if you look at their GAAP net income, it's declined the last 3 years, while their adjusted profit has increased. So they're doing a little bit of financial math magic to make the numbers look a little bit better. I think they're being extra generous with their adjusted EPS. But that aside, the core business looks pretty good. I mean, I don't know if their valuation will be reasonable for their business, but as a business itself, they seem to be pretty stable and growing.
Right.
So.
And at the end, it's good to be talking about a standalone company that's doing its own thing, not just like another sale to Google or Yahoo or...
This is really big for Chicago, right?
Huh?
GrubHub is from Chicago.
Yes, I think
this
so,
is
yeah.
a huge day for their scene. So Chicago, good job.
Oh, Chi-Town.
You finally get one. All right, sorry.
And then
Groupon.
How'd that go?
All right.
last
They also
story.
had Feedburner. Woo!
Feedburner sold to Google, though.
For $100 million, like
All these
18
guys.
years ago.
Yeah, 18 years ago. Times move fast in tech. Last story here. Facebook killed Facebook.com email addresses. Facebook.com, we hardly knew ye.
We didn't know ye at all. I mean, that's the whole point. Like, no one used it. Like, did you ever use your Facebook.com email address?
I didn't use it myself. I feel like I knew one person who did. I feel like I sent one email to a Facebook.com email address.
I recall when they announced this, they were like, you know, engineers at Facebook, I'll never use email again. It's all inside this glorious Facebook environment. And it was as big a flop, I think, as home. You know, at least when Facebook runs into a wall, they do it full speed. Just like, you know, this is going to change the world. Bam! Nothing. And they just move on. It's incredible.
But I mean, you know, there's a whole bunch of services. It's kind of like, you know, someone created the Facebook graveyard, where they basically just ran down the list of products that Facebook had rolled out over the course of the last 5 years or so to, you know, huge public hype, and then killed off after a few years. And this is another one, along with Poke and Home, and, you know, I guess are they even officially dead? No one's using them.
Home?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I think they're kind of living on. It's kind of like Instagram direct messages. Who cares?
Right. Yeah. So I guess does this mean that Facebook is not becoming that place that people want to use for different things other than posting their party pictures and their baby pictures and what they've been using it for a long time? I mean, I remember when Facebook.com started doing email and people thought, oh, wow, this is like the Gmail killer potentially.
Yeah, but all the cool kids now use an app called WhatsApp. It may take on Facebook, I don't know.
That's true. So yeah, I guess where they lose one part, hopefully they gain another part.
Well, that's a lot of faith in their ability to keep their product alive. But I will say, given the fact that no one used it, its death is unsurprising.
Okay. So not much to say, I guess, about Facebook.com. Any final thoughts?
Rest in peace, Facebook graveyard.
R.I.P. Okay, well, I think that's it then for this episode of Crunch Week. Thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in next week.